Okay, hello again. We're back at the hangar working on more carbon parts. This time I thought I'd show the actual kind of like build side of it as opposed to just the trimming, since this one's a little more complicated. So what we're doing is we're making new front wing end plates. So these are my old ones, but they're still fine, good shape. Obviously they got wore down a little bit. That's supposed to be flat, but these are essentially wear items, which kind of sucks, but kind of doesn't, I guess, at the same time. It's just, what are you going to do? But the difference that I need to make is these need to have like a 2-inch lip like coming off the side of them, which you see there's a core material in here, which I've made a new tool for to make these. But this core material now is going to be that with the 2-inch lip on the side. So this is the tool, which again is a piece of MDF, and then this plastic film that I put on the outside to kind of give it a smooth finish. So what I'll do is I'll lay a few layers of carbon on this, and then I'll take this, set it in there like that, and then I'll do a few more layers over, and then we'll end up bagging the whole thing down, and that will, compress the whole thing, and then give me essentially the same end plate, but it'll have a 2-inch foot coming off the side, which is what Pat at Race Shape said is kind of needed to help create some vortices to make the front wing work a little more effective and kind of control the air going off the back. This was that other core material that I kind of alluded to in the other video. This is like a honeycomb core, or this is more commonly referred to as an exo core, this one. It's essentially cardboard that's been treated and then cut. It's extremely light, extremely stiff. This stuff, it likes to bend a little bit more than some of the other honeycomb cores. It's a little bit more flexible, but it's honestly, it's really expensive, and I don't really use it for much of anything, except for I had a bunch of scrap from a previous job, so I'm just using this. You kind of just sand it down with a DA to get the radius that you want. This one's not so pretty, but again, it's for something for me, so I'm not too concerned about it. And then this will give me kind of the 1/2-inch thickness that I need for the foot, and that will allow the air to do whatever it's going to do. So the next step for me is to just go ahead and cut some plies out that'll fit within this area, make sure I've got room for bagging material and everything else, and then I should be able to hopefully get this one laid up and then at least under vacuum today. So I mean, that's the only downside with composites is it's a lot of prep work, and then once you get things going, you got to wait until tomorrow or the next day to actually kind of keep things moving along. So once I get this sorted, it'll be onto a couple other little things, but I just figured I'd make a quick video kind of on the process side of things so you guys could see more of the, the pre-cutting and everything else. So yeah, I will lay some of the stuff up and then get some footage of that. All right, so everything is pretty well set up now. Gonna be using a Pro Set resin hardener mixture. I actually really like this stuff. I use it a lot at work. It's got a pretty long work time. If you get the slow hardener, it's like 4 to 5 hours, so you don't really have to rush, which is super nice. I mean, you're gonna wait overnight for stuff to cure anyway, so might as well give yourself plenty of work time. So that's the actual part numbers for those, and then brushes, sticks, scale. I get these super cheap like coffee cup things from Costco. You get like 200 of them for like $10, so it's good for mixing. Here is the tool, the bag tape all the way around, and then I have the bag, and then I'm using 6 layers of 3K 2x2, so it'll be 3 layers, and then the core, and then I have a bunch of like scrap and smaller sections I'm going to put on the leading edge before I put the core down, just to make it extra thick right there, and then it'll be 3 more on the outside, so it should be pretty strong. I mean, at this point it's just a slow, tedious process of just kind of laying everything down, so I'll probably set up a time lapse or something for that. So yeah, gonna get to work. Okay, back for day 2 at the hangar. Everything is just kind of back in place. It's a little windy and cold outside. It actually got really cold last night, so took a little bit longer for the part to cure. Actually had to come in today, put it out in the sun to try and get it at some temperature because it was still a little kind of soft, I guess, like might be the wrong word, but it just didn't feel fully cured. So I've taken it out of the bag. I've already popped this off, but I want to kind of just give you an idea of what it would look like. So, you know, pulled the bag off, pulled off the peel ply and the breather. This is essentially the finish you get from the peel ply. It's just kind of a nice, just even finish, essentially. You know, you can see it's pretty consistent all the way around. This is where that core piece ended, so you have a little radius there. A couple little spots that, you know, I might sand or do something to. I mean, honestly though, this is on the bottom side, so it's just gonna get destroyed anyway. So before this goes in the car, I'll probably put a couple strips of Kevlar right here. That way it'll give it a little more abrasion resistance, but the finish side actually came out pretty good. You can see the slight outline from the core. There's a couple little weird spots. They're kind of hard to see. I don't know if I can catch it quite right, but yeah. You can see just kind of some weirdness in the resin there. They're a little bit easier to see on here. So these weird little lines that showed up, they might have just been spots where air got trapped under the plastic sheet that I put there or anything, but that stuff does kind of show up on here. Again, hard to see, but overall the finish is actually pretty nice. So won't have to do too much on this. I'll just trim it, drill the holes, you know, so it'll be ready to be mounted, and then just go from there. So I'm gonna get started on making the second one. I'm just gonna reuse the same tool. I'll clean it up, just prep it again, and then make it the exact same way. That way they're consistent. The other one, you know, being the second one, it may come out a little bit better. All in all, the process was pretty straightforward and pretty easy, so I'll probably just do close to the same thing again. Okay, we are back again for day 2, which will turn into day 3 and 4 due to some changes. So after yesterday pulling the part off of the tool, that was this guy. Like I'd mentioned, there's a couple of those little imperfections, which not the end of the world. And then this was the finished product. All in all, it actually came out pretty good. The carbon was a little dry. Again, I was running kind of close to run like low on resin, stuff like that. So, but I got more resin, so all of that is good. But again, overall, the finish is pretty good across the board. So you can see right here, maybe that it's just a little dry. But I kind of went through, did some soul searching, I guess, with the budget in mind. And since these are kind of wear items, you know, this whole front gets kind of wore down pretty quickly, which is something that I'm going to be addressing with either spring rates or shock change adjustment or something. The core material I was using was this, which again was super expensive but super light. Actually, I can pull the tape off of this. There, that way you can see that it's just literally straight through. Again, a very cool material, very expensive, and I got some scrap from an old job, from my actual, you know, aerospace work, my real job, not this stuff. So it's just one of those things where I'm probably not gonna be able to come across it, and it kind of stinks to wear those down at events. So I started thinking, like, what else could I use for material? The idea for a lot of my stuff is always really budget focused, and I've had a lot of people lately ask me about the process that I go through, some steps to do. So I decided I'm gonna redo them. I only made one of them, so I'm gonna remake the other one. And I'm going to use a different material for the actual bottom parts for the core there. That way, one, it won't be so sad when they get destroyed. And then two, it'll be a lot easier to reproduce because there's a little bit less work involved with making them come out correct. And I'm going to show a little bit more of the actual carbon process, like start to finish. So the rest of this video may be a little tutorial focused, but maybe not. So we'll see. Hopefully just get some good information out there for people that are trying to do this stuff on their own. But what I'm going to be using for the core material this time is some baseboard material. This is a 1/2 inch or 3 inch thick pine, which, you know, obviously very easy to radius the front. It's pretty close to the right width. I think it's actually 2 1/4, so it might be a little bit wider. And it will go along with the other core piece that I made, which again, is just that really thin plywood. So yeah, so at this point, all of this stuff is kind of cored with wood. So this goes on there like that, and then this is that lower piece that will go there. So again, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I'm going to do it the same way that I did the other one. You know, this will get glued to the bottom here, and then it'll get attached. So should be pretty simple, and it'll be a lot easier to produce. I mean, this stuff is like $1 a foot or something. I bought a big old piece for like 10 bucks, and I can get three or four of these pieces out of them. So, you know, making the 90 not so bad. I remade a new tool out of aluminum. That way I don't have to worry about the plastic tape, which again had those weird perfection marks in it for some reason. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. I think just when the carbon or the resin actually heats up, it may stretch the tape, or the glue comes undone a little bit because it's a little bit hotter in that spot. This, on the other hand, I'll just be able to wax directly onto it and then lay the parts up right onto it. So it'll be, you know, a little bit easier to reproduce multiple. So if I have to make some either in a hurry, or if I just want to knock out like 2 or 3 of them, it'll be less work. So I'm going to get started on prepping this and go from there. All right, step 1, and again, this will be a little tutorial-ish, but since this will be the tool that I'm going to use, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wax the surface. There's a million different ways to do this, a million different super high-end products and expensive products. Again, there's a lot of information online, so take anything I go with kind of a, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, but like this is the way that I typically do these things, and I'm very budget conscious about all of this. So, you know, again, there's a lot better stuff out there, and there's a lot of people that do this very professionally and make very high-end stuff that use different products, which, you know, it's kind of, I don't want to say you get what you pay for, but it's like there's definitely stuff out there that will be better. But I use a basic floor wax from any hardware or home improvement store, and just go over this with 3 or 4 coats, and then, you know, just give it a nice buff with a clean rag, and you're good to go. You'll see the tape on the edge here. This is where the actual bag sealant tape is going to go. So you want to keep this clean and not wax it, otherwise you run the risk of the tape lifting or not sticking. So usually I'll go and put like a 1-inch tape or a 1/2-inch tape around the edge, and then you can go crazy waxing the whole thing, and you don't have to worry about this, and I'll just peel this off after and then put my tape on there, and then you're good to go. So that's essentially step 1. Okay, so I've got the tape pulled off. You can actually see a pretty definitive line of where it's waxed and where it's not. I usually go really heavy with the wax. Honestly, you just don't want the part to stick. Again, there's other materials that you can use, but again, just some cheap old floor wax kind of works the best. So the next step is I'll put the bag tape around the edge, and then I'll actually set this aside and start cutting my material. Okay, so like I said, I just got a shipment in of some carbon. That is these guys. Now these are 2-foot rolls. Typically I get most of my carbon stuff from a place called Composite Envisions. They've got a lot of really good stuff, really good prices. They also have second quality, which is, you know, defect or scratch and dent style, which is great for build up, basically everything but the first layer, and it's usually really inexpensive. I've been starting getting carbon from this other place lately, which I found on eBay. They just have an eBay store. They have a real store too. It's called Composite, or hold on, it is, there we go. Well, it's not going to focus. It's Innovative Composite Technologies is what the place is called. I've been getting stuff from them lately because they just have 2-foot rolls for cheap. They have larger rolls obviously as well, but 2-foot has been great for just about everything I've been doing. I've been getting a lot of plain weave lately, which is this, which is just kind of the checkerboard kind of look. And then this is the standard 2x2 twill, which is, you know, what this ends up being is kind of the regular carbon look. So again, 2x2 twill, and then plain weave. Again, maybe kind of hard to tell in the video, but this is just more of, again, like over one, under one, and just a regular like checkerboard pattern. So I like that actually, and that's what I deal with a lot at work, so it's just kind of what I'm used to seeing. But this is really the most common that you see on just about every automotive thing or anything done for looks. But again, this stuff is great, inexpensive. I think this was 116 bucks shipped. It's 10 or 15 yards. I think it's 10 yards. So what is that? I don't know, $11 a yard or something. You know, or it's $10 a yard before shipping. So good, inexpensive, and again, it's, you know, the 2 foot wide rolls are perfect for most of the projects that I use. So I definitely recommend them. It's not like a sponsored video, or they're not supplying me with anything. It's just people ask a lot where I get material from, and it's typically Composite Envisions or from this place, the Innovative Composite Technologies. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the setup for everything work-wise. So I've got all the material cut, so kind of a step-by-step of how things are going to go, since I'm probably just going to time-lapse the whole thing. But there's a tool, it's been waxed, it's got the bag sealant tape on it, and then what will happen is I'll put down a layer of resin just to get kind of an initial spot for tacking. We'll put 1 layer of carbon down. This is going to be the layer that you'll see, so you want to focus on trying to get the weave straight and making sure that's kind of the, you know, just put a lot of care and attention to that one. After that, I've got 5 layers cut here. I'm going to do 2 layers, which will be the outside, and then it's going to go to my core material, which is going to be that thin wood and then that floor molding stuff. You can see I've got that kind of set up, radiused, and it's attached. So it'll go resin, 2 layers of carbon. This is going to get set right here, and then I'm going to do 3 layers of carbon on the outside, because this will be the inside part of the wing, so you won't see it, but this is going to be the underside that's going to come in contact with the ground. So that's going to get 3 layers, plus for each one of those 5 layers, since they weren't the full 24 inches of the roll, I've got these cutoffs that are a couple inches. So these are going to get wrapped around as well. So this bottom layer is going to end up being probably 8 to 10 layers thick, which, you know, again, seems like a lot of carbon, but it's going to take a lot of abuse on that end until I figure out something to help, you know, and I may do some layers of Kevlar for repairs after. But once that's done, this is a peel ply material. It's basically a release film. So this will go down like on that. That's what gives you that kind of even finish on the back side. That's what this is. So again, it's a very, very light texture, but it gives you that even finish. It also helps soak up and even out any excess resin. Once that's on there, then you go to this, which is a breather or bleeder cloth. This will go up here. This helps the vacuum pull air out of the actual part. It'll also help soak up some excess resin as well too. A big thing to remember is when you put your vacuum port on anything, which is not over here right now, it's about a 2-inch diameter circle. If you put it somewhere, it's probably going to show up on the part. So you want to try and make sure you put it somewhere that's going to get cut off or trimmed off. I've got this area right here that's going to get trimmed off, so my vacuum port's going to go right about there. What I'll do is I'll double up the breather. I'll get some scrap pieces like this, fold them up so it's nice and thick, put it right there. That way you make sure you don't suck up any resin. And then after that, you know, the bag will go on, get stuck down, pull vacuum on the part, and then it's kind of the waiting game after that. So it may seem like a lot, just kind of going into it, but the biggest thing is once you kind of pre-cut everything, get it set up where it's going to go, it's really not so bad, especially after you do it once or twice. So this will be pretty straightforward. Again, I'll just do a time lapse of this whole thing, and then just kind of, you know, get working along on that, and then it should hopefully come out better than this one. Again, this one came out pretty good. I just something about it I just wasn't into, and it wasn't as easy to make as I wanted it to be, dealing with this core and everything else. So this one should be easier to do. It's easier to replicate. It's a lot quicker to make, especially with this. And then this being just, you know, cheap and expensive wood, it's a lot easier to deal with it slamming into the ground and wearing away, because it's just easier to reproduce, and it's not expensive, and I won't run into a situation where, you know, like, oh, I'm out of that other stuff and now I have to redo everything. So this should be a lot better for what I'm looking for, and then again, at the end of the day, I'll feel better about it, which is the important part. So, all right, I'm gonna get going on this and kind of pick up once it's done.